The darkness in the imperial capital ran deep and black. Advances in science had given the city natural gas-powered streetlights to illuminate its streets, but even so, there were still many back alleys hidden from the public eye. The city was still developing, but it would be quite a while before all the darkness inside was eradicated. Now Misha was quietly walking in the dark where she was born and raised, and here, it gave her mind comfort instead of fear. That's just how she was. In the days since she finished her report to Yuki, Misha had kept hidden in the shadows, busily preparing for the upcoming coup. The Imperial army was currently out on an invasion. It'd be dangerous for an officer like Misha to be seen in public. Desertion was punishable by death and also described what she was doing pretty well at the moment. But she strode on with confidence, not a hint of fear on her face. It made evident just how confident she was in her knowledge of the city's darkness. Besides, despite her preference for staying behind the scenes, Misha was an excellent fighter, not as good as Vega or Damrata, but certainly a talented boss all the same. She was an expert at intel gathering, priding herself at outclassing Dworgen's and Blumen's agents. That was why she felt sure she could hide from the Imperial Intelligence Bureau, and she had stayed alive in the capital well enough up to now. Now she was heading for her usual destination. But tonight, that seemed to be a mistake. She hadn't been careless at all, but nonetheless, a man appeared to block her way. His name was Kondo, the figure stalking the halls of information in the IAB. Damrata hadn't confirmed it with her, but he was also likely the commander of the Imperial Guardians. At the very least, there was no doubt that Misha could ever hope to beat him one-on-one. "Where are you going this time of night?" Kondo asked, his cold voice particularly resonant. Misha smiled, even as she internally chided herself. "Oh, it's you, Lieutenant Kondo. Are you working late tonight?" Despite any misgivings, she acted perfectly serene with him. But for her, the situation couldn't get much worse right now. "I can't believe he sniffed me out in this remote nook of such a vast city. What a monster. No way could I beat him, either. And my escorts won't even buy any time for me." Kondo had appeared without warning, but he seemed to be alone. That didn't give Misha much optimism. She searched for a way, anyway, to get out. "You're Misha, aren't you? Staff officer for Commander Caligulio. Why are you back in the capital during a wartime operation?" His tone was dead serious. "It was so scary, Lieutenant Kondo. I was actually asked by Lord Caligulio to go on a secret mission back to the capital." She had to deceive him somehow. At the same time, she searched her surroundings for other people, keeping her guard up. There was no one else in this cramped alleyway, which was fine, but her bodyguards had apparently disappeared on her. Did they already take care of them? How outclassed are we anyway? I didn't even notice a fight. In an instant, Misha gauged the situation. They did not know each other personally, but there was no way Kondo wasn't aware of Misha. She didn't know how he saw her, but it didn't seem like words alone would get her through this. Her guards were dispatched without a moment's hesitation. Deception, she assumed, was out of the question. So she decided to ask for help from Damrata, whom she was planning to meet up ahead. But then an unpleasant thought entered her mind. How did they find out where I was? Sir Yuki decided to trust Damrata. But can I do the same? It was Damrata who arranged this meeting place for them. They were supposed to work out the details of the top-secret conference they'd have with the Demon Lord Remure tomorrow. Not good. Not good at all. There's a chance Damrata double-crossed us, as much as I hate to think it. Sir Yuki trusts him, and besides, I owe Damrata as well. Misha and Damrata had known each other for over 20 years. They were both leaders of Cerberus, and she felt she knew more about him than even Yuki. That's why this was all so confusing for her. He knew Damrata to be cold-hearted rational. Based on what he told her, he had no apparent reason to stab Misha in the back. She not only wanted to believe that after listening to Yuki explain matters, she was convinced of it. So now wasn't the time for hesitation. She had to believe in her friends until the end. So her mind made up, Misha looked at Kondo. "My gratitude goes out to the great Emperor Lidora for the good fortune of meeting you here." "Oh? It was you, Lieutenant, wasn't it? The guy who took out my pursuers. I knew I wouldn't be able to take on that many opponents by myself." "Ah. Proceeding with that script, then. Oh, are you suspicious of me? Even after I've been desperately trying to get back from that hellhole to bring you my information at all costs." Misha boldly continued the performance, approaching Kondo and sidling up to his chest. This was Misha the lover's specialty, using her feminine charms to ensnare unwitting men. It was powered by a combination of curse perfume and the illusory magic charm, and it worked on the mind of the target, stimulating their base instincts while inhibiting their thought processes, in order to make them fall in love with her. Their dependence on Misha would grow further as she was closer to them physically and emotionally. Once she had it all in place, she'd have as much control over the target as she wanted. She was using this on Caligulio as well. By her estimation, a few more embraces, and he'd be hers for the taking. And not just Caligulio, either a litany of men had fallen for her wiles. As far as she knew, it had never failed before. It was the most powerful card she had to play, because even if she never had a chance in battle, she was sure any opponent would succumb to lust for her. So Misha placed her supple hands around Kondo's back, pushing her ample breasts against him. Then she gauged his reaction. She could sense him slackening a little. She giggled. Hee hee. Good. He pretends to be this stuck-up bastard, but even Kondo's still a man, huh? This was going better than she anticipated. Maybe this would work out, after all. Hey, why don't we go someplace else, huh? A room where we can relax, maybe. She whispered the words, her lips close to his ear. Kondo's right hand moved a bit. Very well, she could hear him whisper back. This is going well. My best bet is to meet up with Damrata at our rendezvous point. Even if that doesn't work out, I can have Kondo sleep with me, and then he'll become my captive. It was the last thought Misha would ever have. With a dry bang, Misha collapsed to the ground, the left side of her head bleeding profusely all over the street. Somewhere along the line, Kondo had produced a Nambu semi-automatic handgun. The smoke rising from the muzzle made it clear this was the murder weapon that had shot Misha in the temple. He put it away, expression frozen, as if nothing untoward had happened. His unique skill to cipher, which read the thoughts of anyone he came in contact with, had already collected all relevant information. Misha's objective, Yuki's plans, the fate of the imperial troops staging the invasion, it took him less than a second to read all that. But despite the devastating truths just revealed to him, Kondo's face remained frozen. Instead, looking almost bored, he spoke into the darkness. Biku? What a deranged idea. And yet you claim you're not betraying His Majesty. From the darkness, where nobody should have been, emerged a lone man. Instead of answering Kondo's question, he walked up to the crumpled figure of Misha. It was Damrata. Kondo, you didn't have to kill her, did you? With the right education, she could have been of great help to His Majesty. No, there was no chance of that. Apply ranking to her skills, and she would be lucky to reach 37 or so. She might have had a chance if she could reach the teens, at least, but no woman of her caliber could ever serve His Majesty. Besides, Kondo coldly spat, I was completely exposed, and she couldn't penetrate my defenses. Damrata shrugged. If Kondo said so, he must have been right. There was no point arguing. All he had were mixed feelings over the fate of Misha, one of his friends. He kneeled next to her, holding out his left hand to the left side of her head. A soft light closed the wound. He pushed Misha's protruding eyeball back into his socket, pulling both eyelids down. Finally, he wiped her face clean, trying his best to restore at least some of her beauty. He couldn't bring the dead back to life, but at least he wanted her to rest in peace. Why waste your time? Leave her, and the body will be disposed of before sunrise, said Kondo. Just answer my questions, please. I can't put my emotions aside the way you can. You're too soft. You're just crazy. How can you act so thoroughly emotionless at such a young age? I don't have any emotions. End of story. That's ridiculous. I have seen hell in my time. It was Emperor Lidora who saved me from that hell. If you're switching sides on me, you won't receive any mercy. I am ever His Majesty's faithful servant. I could never betray him. We'll see about that. Remember, you're under my spell at the moment. If you want me to trust you, better prove it by your actions. Then Kondo walked away, never looking back. Damrata took one final glance at Misha, then left the scene himself. Nights lasted a long time at the imperial capital. There was still work left to be done. Not long after, agents from the intelligence bureau disposed of Misha's body, leaving not a trace behind. The darkness of the capital's nights was so deep he could bury even these events, as if they had never happened at all.